Hey guys, are you a personal trainer? Maybe you're a fitness expert. Maybe you're someone that's trying to break into the fitness industry and you want to know how to create your own sales process. How do you make this thing online work and work well for you? Do you want to learn how to create actual marketing materials that are going to be effective and allow you to start growing and scaling your business? Well, if you answered yes to any of those things, then this show is for you. Welcome to an episode of Hangout with Marc here. And I have a very special guest I'm going to introduce in a moment that's going to help us address all of those things I just spoke about. But to get things deep down, I want to thank you guys. If it's your first time tuning into the show, thank you. You're going to be in for a good surprise. If you're one of the regular subscribers that comes out each and every week, thank you. You're learning all the tips and tricks and everything you need to learn how to grow your business step by step each and every week here. So I want to let you guys know today's episode is about creating marketing materials that work. It's about how can you start scaling? How can you start growing a business, especially if you're someone that's newer into the fitness industry or if you're an expert, but you just don't know how to make the online part work. How do you get into that game? How do you make the game work for you? And how do you win that game? So I'm going to be speaking with right now our very special guest. She's been on our show once before, but not for a long enough time. She did not get the justice done to her, which she deserves, because she has a wealth of experience. Our guest here, Heather Ann Havenwood, is an expert. There she's going high in the bottom of the screen there. She is an expert in a number of things here. So, not only is she an expert in marketing, not only is she an expert in creating sales processes, not only is she an expert in consulting and helping businesses grow, she's also a speaker. She's also an author. She knows how to make this online game work for you. And I've had many conversations with Heather prior to this show, and I can tell you from experience in conversing with her that we need a full show with Heather on this to really make it worthwhile for you guys. And even then, there's so much more that we're going to be not even be able to cover in this episode. But I want you guys to pay very close attention to this, because you're going to learn some strategies that are going to help you instantly grow your business before this show ends. I promise you that. So without further ado, I'd like to let Heather, take over here, say hi to you guys, and give a little bit of an introduction, because I'm sure I didn't do all the justice that I could have.
You did phenomenal, Mark. Are you kidding me? I'm over here like cringing. There's something about, people promoting us, like, Mark, you're amazing. There's something about that. I'm like, get all like weird about it. So thank you so much. I really honor that. Thank you very much. So my name is Heather Havenwood. You can check me out at heatherhavenwood.com if you want to. I have a podcast called The Win, because it's all about winning in business, whatever that looks like. It's about the mindset, and it's about understanding that marketing is just a game. It's like Pokemon, kind of, You understand Pokemon, you play it long enough, you'll become a master at it. But I just want to acknowledge you and everyone here that when you're good at something, whatever that is, being a great trainer, being great at bodybuilding. Myself, I bodybuild 5 times a week. I just did a figure show, but I'm not a trainer, right? Because that's something I don't want to be as a trainer. But I understand that there's a particular mindset you have to be a trainer, and it's a very specific one. I really honor that. But then there's this whole other game called marketing your services as a trainer. So I just want to, hopefully today we're going to give you some nuggets, some things you can do right now to help you increase your business and your basically clients. And I always hate it when I see amazing trainers. I mean, I know they're good, right? And they're not getting clients, right? And that's because there's 2 sides of it. There's the understanding the body and the training, and then there's marketing oneself to get the clients towards you. Or I see great marketers who are trainers, and I know personally they're not that great of a trainer. So those are, I'm sure you've experienced too. We're hopefully going to help you with that today.
I love it, Heather. So why don't, for people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit how you got into the online game,
Sure.
and what were some of those main challenges maybe that you faced when you first entered it?
Wow. Well, kind of, I think marketing found me. I didn't find it. It was on accident, I'm sure. It was 2001. And here's kind of how this happened. I was in a sales and marketing big company, Fortune 500 company, and they fired me. Basically, they fired me because I was number one in the country, which is probably like, wait, what? So I brought in revenue for the company. I was number one in the country, and then they fire me. That makes no sense, right? And mainly that's because when you get to certain tiers in sales, which is how they do the carrot, when you get a certain tier, they get to pay you more, right, of the revenue. Well, they didn't like that. So they'd rather have a lot of small people like here barely making it and paying them peanuts versus one person who they got paid elephant. So basically, that was my first experience in corporate world. It didn't make sense to me. So I got fired / resigned / whatever you want to call it at the moment. And one day I saw this infomercial. A couple months later, I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I want to have control of my income. And I know fitness trainers have that too. They want to control their income. They want to be able to, if they charge a client $75 or $100 a session, they want to keep most of that, not give it to the gym, right? So one day I saw this infomercial and it had the glorious words of, do you want to own your business? Do you want to control your life? And I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so long story short, I go to this seminar and I paid them $3,000 to learn this business thing. And long story short, I started traveling with the company that did that. So that's how I found marketing, traveling the country. And I had to learn how to sell fast. We'd walk into a room, complete strangers. You got 90 minutes to pitch them $3,000. And if you don't eat that night. So you learn the art and the process of sales. And sales is a process. It is not weird or geeky, or it's informational. And I say that because sometimes I see trainers, they try to educate the client first before they sell the client first. So it's in the sales process, you sell them on the potential of educating them. Makes sense? So here I am in this, and just imagine for a second, we're in a seminar room. I'm in the hotel of whatever, Hilton in Chicago. There's 90 strangers in front of us. We have 90 minutes to sell them a $3,000 education course. So just imagine yourself as a trainer. You have 90 minutes or less sometimes, like 30 minutes sometimes to say, or 60 minutes to say enough information to prove that you know what you're talking about, and yet get them to that point where they make that leap and they say, yes, I want you as my trainer, because that's what they're doing. They were basically buying training from us. And then they buy a package and they go through the training. And that's when then you teach them. So there's definitely a process. And the process of selling is teachable. It really is teachable. So that's kind of how I got into the online business. That was in 2001. So I feel old.
Well, you shouldn't feel old because, I was talking with my girlfriend about this last night, and the whole component of, the people that got in the game early and really learned it are the ones that I find I'm saying dominate now because they've put in the time, right? They put in the time to really learn the game, the ins and the outs, what works, what doesn't work. A lot of people that are jumping in now, there's so many people, there's so much noise out there that they don't know who to latch onto to say, okay, who's an expert? Who actually is an expert? Who can help me? And that's why I was really attracted to have you on the show as well, Heather, because I know that you've seen it all. You've seen it all. And you haven't.
See ups and downs when you feel that versus like when you're 20, just getting into it. It's like you see one view versus. I remember when we had to put out ads on radio and newspaper to get 90 people. This is only 15 years ago, people. This is not like 1910. Okay, this is only 15 years ago. It's not that far away. People had that concept. This is pre-Facebook. This is pre-Twitter. I mean, hello. So it's not that far away, actually, that it was only 15 years ago. In a career, that's not that much, But you learn, it's a different kind of selling. When I'm in front of a person, we're on a camera right now, but when you're in front of 90 people and you're face to face, there's a different energy to it. There's a different feeling around it. And that experience of rejection comes up in the person who's selling. Some sort of trainer that happens to, like that feeling of like, don't say no to me. There's that comes up and you have to manage that. And understand that's just that kind of reptile side of your brain of fear of rejection, and everyone has it. So you have to move past that and also treat the other person and the other side, the person in front of you, as a human being, not as a sales. I'm sure you had that experience where you're being sold to and you feel you're being sold to. You're like, I feel weird, because they feel weird about the sales process versus someone who you're being sold, but it's like this great process and you just like hanging out with them and going down the river and you're being sold and you're just going to the next step. Yeah, okay. Because it feels good because they're comfortable with the sales process. So they match your energy. You basically match their energy as a salesperson. So
And I think that's so important, Heather. And one of the things that you said a little bit earlier that's very, very important to everyone listening is whenever people start a business, the crucial element is like, I need sales, I need money. I feel like a lot of people, they're in that mindset and they don't view it as a process. They view it as a transaction, a one-time transaction.
mm-hmm.
And I think that the challenge for some of the listeners or people that are just learning the game, especially, is like, okay, they may feel unsuccessful if they didn't sell anything today. But you said something very important, and it's based on the title of this show, and it's a process. It is a process. It is not a one and a done, and it's not always going to be as soon as you talk to someone, they're like, yeah, I want that. Let's exchange service right now and pay you money. It's not always going to work like that. So, when we're talking about a process, what does that look like, at least from your standpoint, to start getting people an idea in their head of how they should view their business, especially when taking it online?
Okay, so this is great. And I'm going to use the analogy that everyone loves, dating. Okay, let's just go down that world of dating. When you meet somebody, whatever that looked like, either online or you first ask them out in a bar, whatever that is, what is the first thing you do? You try to get them what I call to the date, right? The date. So you met them in a bar, maybe you met them at Match.com, whatever it is. You try to get them to the date. That could be coffee. Doesn't matter what the date is. It's the first step. It's this little tiny step, getting them, getting that quote unquote first date. That is basically sales. It's not always about what I call getting married. Okay. That would be really weird if you get the first saying, okay, I'm ready to get married. You? That would be creepy. Right. And that's where sales gets its like creepiness, because people try to literally get married to them. Right. In 30 minutes, because marriage is a commitment. When I buy a car or when I buy that $30,000 process, that's kind of a mini commitment or a big commitment, depending. It's basically a marriage. So you have to start that process with what I call little steps. And so when I work with people, I work with all kinds of different clients in their sales process. And the one thing I kind of hone them on is a particular client I'm thinking about right now. And he'll like get in the conversation with somebody, and he's got what I call a long sales process for his sales. And when he gets the client, they could be with him for 3 or 4 years, and it's big money. And so it's what I call a long sales process. And so what I focus him on is next step. And it could just mean, okay, great guys, we talked about this today. Let's go ahead and set up the next meet. Let's get it in a date and time and reality. And that sounds so small, but it's like, it's the little step. Right now, I'm actually in the conversation with talking to someone about my next bodybuilding focus, and I'm talking to a trainer right now. When I talk to him, I already know who he is. I know he's great. When I said something to him, he goes, I'm going to give you your number, and then we'll set up the next date. And he knows how to do this. He's been texting me, here's some times, what works. We just set up a date. Then he said, okay, here's what I need you to do for that date. Next date. And I know when I get there at the first date, basically he's going to give me, I don't know his prices yet. He's going to give me his prices, what it looks like. And then I'm going to make a decision. But up until this point, we've literally had 4 mini dates. Hey, I'm kind of interested. Okay. Here, I'm going to contact you. Never put it over there with him. I'm going to contact you. And then he does it. And then he continues to contact me to set a date. That's all he focuses on. He doesn't focus on, what's my big goals? Let's figure it all out right now. He's like, no, first date. And I say this and it sounds so simple, but you get people focusing on the one tiny little step that's next, and that's what they'll do next. They will. So in the sales process with the seminars, here we are 90 people, they were going. Well, what's the next step, right? What we wanted them to do, first step, stand up, go to the back of the room, and then sit down at a table. That was all we wanted them to do. And then through that, we gave them the pen. They took it because we gave it to them. And then we start going through the process, step by step by step, slowly. And then all of a sudden, they're buying. It's small. It's not this big leap, So in the sales process, it's a game. Just think of football players, think of the Olympians. I mean, they spend years in the process of being an Olympian before they actually become the Olympian. And that's what sales process is about.
You know why that's so powerful, Heather? That reminds me of a conversation I had this morning. Again, my girlfriend was saying, look, I'm trying to get my sister to work out. I'm trying to get her to work out. But whenever she thinks about working out, she thinks about having to work out 4 to 5 times a week for 6 months to get results. And I'm like, well, Grace, the reason why that's not working is for someone that's not motivated yet. They're thinking that it has to be this long-term commitment. Why not just focus on getting her to the gym once? Right, to experience it, because it's like you said, it's just that next step. Hey, there's no commitment here. Let's just try this next step. Okay, I can try one workout, and then you could create another next step once they've taken action on the previous step, and then you keep building upon that. And that is so powerful, because when we're talking about sales processes, we think that we need to do everything at once, or otherwise the sales process doesn't work. But you're absolutely right. This whole focus of little steps, baby steps, which ultimately, before they know it, you get them to the end result. And before they know it, they're at the end result. That is so powerful. And when I think about that, okay, in person, that is great. Now, how do we do something like that online? How do we do something like that when we are creating an email sequence?
Okay, I'll tell you something not to do, because I get this one all the time. So sometimes you learn from learning that's not what to do. So I'm sure you get this as well, Mark. I know you do. People contact you via LinkedIn or something. I think I contacted you via LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I think I did. And they'll say something like, hey, Mark, I'd love to be on your show. Let me know when we get together. I mean, what are you going to do? You're like, okay. I'm going to give you my calendar. What? There isn't a next step. And they're selling you, right? They're selling you to get on your show. Okay. So another way to look at that, another way to do it, a better way to do it, because that's the not way to do it. The better way to do it is, hey, Mark, this is who I am. Here's my media page. Here's what I'm about. Here's how I can add value to you. I'd love to talk to you about what works. And if I could be a value to you in your show, here is my calendar. URL nowadays, we have scheduled ones, all kinds of fun ones. It's free. You can go get it and go pick a time that's good for you, or send me your calendar and I'll go do that on your calendar. Because if you don't want to do it, right? I can't tell you how many times I've sent that little email out to cold people, what I call cold. I don't know them. And next thing you know, I'm getting a little message saying, hey, this person's wanting to connect with you, because I'm making it easy for them to take the next step. And I'm telling them the next step. I'm like, hey, why don't we get on the phone, just have a conversation that works for you? Here's my calendar. Please send me your calendar if you want me to. Either way, that way it's easy. And I'm allowing them to do business with me easily. That is such a key piece. And sometimes with trainers, I hear it because I go to the Gold's Gym, and I'll hear the trainers say, well, if you're interested, just let me know. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the worst thing you can say to another human being, because no one's really interested in working out. You know what I mean? No one's really interested. And if they're already showed their quote unquote interest by the fact that they showed up. Okay. They just don't know what to do. So you're the guide. I call it a guide. If you're old school, if you're, going on a raft trip, right? And the guide is in the back going, well, let me know what y'all want to do. And you're going, well, I don't know. You live here. What do we do? Right. And so it's their job to guide. Hey guys, we're going to go down this fall, and then we're going to go down here. And then you're going to love this process because you're having so much fun. Okay, we're on for the ride. So you want people to experience that as a trainer, they basically say yes to you. Just say yes to me, and I'm going to show you an amazing ride. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, you're going to get your results that you want for your body, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's a very different kind of invite than just, let me know if you're interested, Mark. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's a very different kind of invite. You want to invite them to go to the next step. Another way to say that is the end, like, hey, Mark, it seems like you're probably interested in making your body amazing, and I'd love to help you with that, and I know I can. Tell you what, let's just get you on your first meet and tomorrow at 12 o'clock, whatever. Does that work for you? Yes. Okay, great. I'll be here ready to go to put you through your first workout. And then we can take it from there. Don't try to sign up a $3,000 package right then. You know, say, let's just set the first date together, and then you move it from there. So like with your girlfriend's sister, that's what I would do, is like just that first time, and then let's schedule the next time. And okay, let's schedule the third time. Next thing you know, it becomes a habit. But the habit, like for me, the habit's so strong that when I don't go, it feels weird. But that's after 5 years of doing the same thing over and over again. Okay. So you have to look at it differently. The other person's like, just let's set the date. Okay. Well, that was great. Let's set the next date. And there you go. Because we're trained. One thing I want to say this, we're trained from kindergarten to stand in line, to follow the teacher, to basically be guided by the teacher, right? To not really say what we really want, and to show up when the school bell rings. These all sound familiar? So use the social programming we already have. No matter who we are, or no matter how much personal development we've had, okay, to break through that, we still have that social programming. And believe it or not, when someone, what I call, pulls that out in us, it's very relaxing to us. We're like, oh, someone else is in control. This is great. You know, I don't have to think. I don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? And so as a trainer, you should use that. Use the social programming we already have innate for 12 years. If you went to school for 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, whatever it is.
So I like that, Heather, because what I'm hearing in this is when we're working on a sales process, no matter what industry, what we're doing, whether it's personal training, fitness, or real estate, or whatever it is, we always want to make sure that we're creating the process to be as easy as possible. And we want to remove as much of the decision-making process and the energy it takes to make a challenging decision from the buyer. And we do that by guiding them step by step, and painting those pictures with each little next step of how it's going to benefit them. So they're more enticed to take that step. And before we know it, before they know it, they're like, wow, I've actually got the result that I was looking to attain. And I enjoyed the process, but only because I didn't have this thing going off in my head saying, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this? Do I do that? I was guided step by step, and the picture was painted. So I always looked at that step positively and was looking forward to it. So I think that that's huge so far, what we've learned in the sales process. It's
I want to say something real quick to that, Mark, just because in the fitness training, just quickly, CrossFit, one of the reasons I think it's so sexy right now, I guess is the right word, is there's a couple reasons, but I just want to say this one. And I know for a fact for me, I stayed with the trainer that I probably shouldn't have for almost 4 or 5 years, because it was for someone like me who's a type A personality, entrepreneur, go, right? And I'm the leader of my life. It was this 1 hour, 3 times a week that I got to effing let go, right? I would show up, the music would be really loud, and then they would tell me what I need to do on this little thing, right? Whatever their board was. And they'd say, go. I didn't have to think. And I just assumed, right, that particular class or that particular thing would get me with the results. But I was so unfocused on the results, actually, believe it or not. I was just focused on the letting go. And believe it or not, I think most people go to work out. Yes, they want the results called looking good and feeling sexy. But what they really want is that release to let go and not have to think, and not have to learn, and not have to take it all in and figure it all out. They just want the trainer to tell me to do whatever I need to do next, and then they'll do it because they want to let go. Make sense?
1,000% sense. I mean, it's just there's so many aha moments going off right now for me. So, we've talked a little bit about the process here of how someone can start thinking about the sales process. So now let's say, okay, push comes to shove. Now it's time for me to take action. I'm a personal trainer and I want to go out there and start applying this in a similar way, but I want to start applying this for maybe an online product that I've created. I have an PDF, we'll say, and I put it up online and I want people to see it. I want everyone that wants to get six-pack abs to see this product and go to it and get value. You know, how could we then apply maybe a basic sort of sales process through email or through online to sort of help us accomplish the same objective?
Couple things. One, I mean, you and I talked about this before. Podcasting is amazing, or shows like this, what an interview style podcasting, Google Hangouts, where you're getting on other people's, what I call other people's stages. I'm getting on your stage is how I see it. I'm getting on your stage. I mean, you already have a community and I'm being exposed to the community. It's my honor to be exposed to that community. And so, but I will hopefully giving value to that community and I have exposure. So it's a win-win. That's what podcasting does and Hangouts does. It's a great way to get out there and have exposure. But the other thing that it's really good for is helping you as a trainer, what I call hone your message. So if you're doing something that's what I call non-local, it could be a product that could be anywhere in the United States or globally. This is something I would highly suggest is one thing. It's a great way for you to help yourself. How do you hone your message really well? And you'll learn quickly. You can't necessarily teach, right? You can't, there's a teaching and then there's a pitching, okay? Pitching is educating to a point of understanding to move to the training, okay? And training is when, if you and I were in a training session, I'd be going through like details more and blah, blah, blah of email marketing or whatever it is. More like the steps, tiny little steps. That's training. So you want to uneducate your, like, what I call uncollapse that in your head, that you need to learn how to, what I call pitch yourself, right? And people get all weirded out by that. Pitch yourself, promote yourself versus train people to death, or, you know, or educate them to death. Because over educating will move people away from you, not towards you, believe it or not. And I know that kind of goes against what people are talking about content marketing, but I just believe that because I see it's so true. The other piece, email marketing, you talked about this, every single person you meet. And I know that trainers go to shows, they go to figure shows, they go to fitness shows, they go to all kinds of shows. And they also feel, and I'm making an assumption here, in my experience, I mean, I'm a bodybuilder. My boyfriend's a bodybuilder. Okay, he's amazing. He's a doctor and great. But people assume because I've done shows before, because I've been doing this for 6 and 7 years, 5 years plus in fitness, they assume I don't want a trainer. I'm looking at hiring a trainer right now because there's like another level I want to go to. And people assume that they should go after what I call people that are not going to work out at all and trying to get them, you know, get them to the gym. That's the hardest sell ever. Focus on people that are already in the gym and helping them go to the next level, because the mind shift is already there for you. And it's an easier sell. It's what I call lower hanging fruit. Okay. It's lower hanging fruit. And as a trainer, as someone myself that's out there all the time, like I said, I'm going to another trainer right now to, in that conversation, go to the next level because I want to go to the next show and I want to get stronger, I have different goals now. That is the best way to start the process. There's a few things. One, get every single person's email address and start emailing them, communicating with them, connecting with them on Facebook and having email marketing. Number two, doing shows like this, podcast, become a podcast guest as much as you possibly can. And that'll help you get exposure, but also help you hone your message clearly, succinctly, like that. Those are the two big things I think that people can do right away. If they have a product or service, like you're talking about, that's national, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Yeah. And I just happened the other day, I went up to this trainer who I know, like I said, we're in the conversation. I said, hey, I'd like to, he was in the middle of a session. So I was very like, I don't want to take his time. I was like, hey, I'm interested in talking to you. Give me your card or something. He's like, oh, I don't have a card. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, and I get that. It actually was the best thing because I said, well, here's my number. And I like wrote it down really quickly on this pad he had. And then he contacted me like a couple of hours later. So he got something from me. Now he's in control of the process, right? He's in control of the process at this point. And I'm just now responding to him instead of a time that we have this week. So you want to, what I call, get control of the process as fast as you possibly can. What does that look like? Get the information from them more than giving out your information. Because when you do that, and I know you've done this yourself, Mark, I have, hey, I'm interested. And they go, oh, here's my card. Call me. crickets, right? And it's not going to happen. I'm already in front of you. It's like, great, here's my card and give me your number. I'll go ahead and email and call you later today when I'm done with my client. Talk to you soon, right? Boom. Now you're in control of the sales process.
I love that. I love how everything that you said there was about staying in control of the sales process. And, you know, there's a bunch of golden nuggets in there, but one of the things that I'm kind of thinking about now is, like, Heather, you've just given us a full blown way in which we could start really adding value to our community, really creating a sales process that works and really marketing ourselves in a different way and staying in control of that process. But now, what would you say is the biggest mistake that people that are newer to the online game make? What is that from your experience, what's the biggest mistake?
There's a lot. I'm trying to think of the fitness space. Well, the number one mistake is they have a hard time promoting themselves. There's a fine line between self-promotion and egotistical narcissism, right? So you have to there's this, am I promoting myself or narcissism? There's a fine line in that space. Sometimes people go overboard. The best way to self-promote oneself is what I call showcase what you're doing or what you're up to. Podcasting is great. I'm constantly promoting my own podcast. Like, here, I'll promote this one because I want people to listen to me because I'm self-promoting. It's an audio business card, right? This is a great conversation versus, let's say I just did this whole entire presentation, me staring at the camera by myself. I think it'd be a little more awkward than having this great conversation with you, Mark. It's people like to listen to conversations. That's why we have Jimmy Kimmel and we have late night shows, right? We love that. We love that as Americans, right? So that's a great way to do it. And start showcasing yourself. That's one thing I think a lot of people have a hard time is start showcasing your accomplishments. If you're a trainer, I'm assuming you've done shows. If you're in bodybuilding or if you're karate, whatever your thing is, I assume you've created some kind of mastery in that space for oneself, right? So showcase your own mastery in it. Right? Then if you have a client, showcase their improvement, right? Showcase your work. And I think fitness is a great way to do it. Before and afters are amazing. Your own mastery in oneself, showcasing is a big one. And that's how you promote, is showcasing of versus telling people how great you are. It's a very different kind of fine line.
I think that's gold. And here's why I think that's gold, Heather, because a lot of people, they come into the space and they're like, okay, well, how do I separate myself? How do I choose my niche? There's 1,000 other people posting hot pictures online and saying, come to me, you'll get these abs. And there's Heather flexing the guns over there on the camera. But you just gave us a solution that, again, it's simple, but we don't think about it. And it's like, you said something very important. Showcase what you are doing, showcase your accomplishments. That is who you are. Those are the people, the audience that are attracted to that are going to come there. They're going to see your personality through showcasing what you've accomplished, what you've done. So it doesn't have to be a game where we sit there and we try to figure out for 3 hours, okay, how am I going to make my post different from someone else? No, it's not about that. It's about, what are you doing? What have you accomplished? And that is what is going to resonate with the people that are meant to be your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of the fitness guys out there with their badass pictures and stuff like that. But see, the other thing that you have to understand is that just because they've done mastery with their own body doesn't mean they're a great teacher. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's two different kinds of people. There's some that are really, no kidding, high level in that space, whatever, CrossFit, whatever. Doesn't mean they're a great educator and teacher. Or a good trainer in this case. And sometimes I've seen trainers that I know are awesome and they don't look like they're awesome. That makes sense. Their body could have maybe dropped another 10-15% body fat, but I know they're amazing trainers. So the best thing for them is to, again, showcase their clientele. Who is their clientele currently? What have they accomplished over time? What is it that they've done? It could have been 10 years ago. It doesn't matter. I know for me, sometimes I even share this story. I've always had this knack for helping people find their clarity. And finding their clarity, because when there's confusion, there's no power. And when there's clarity, you have power, right? I live from a particular principle called, does this feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? I look at everything from that perspective. And so when you create clarity for a person, Okay. In the sales process, they're going to go towards that clarity. Right. So it's not always for me. I've had this. I mean, one time I was like shopping for a trainer. It's been a while, but I hated this question. Well, what kind of goals do you want? I don't know. Like, look smoking hot. Is that good? Does that work? I don't know. Right. So, and then like, well, what do you like to do? I'm like, I just want to be smoking hot. I don't know how to answer that. I want to be sexy. Like, how do I do that? I mean, that's my clarity. That's as far as I got. And I wanted them to guide me to find the result of that. Even though I was like, I didn't know percentage body fat I wanted to go to, or that I need to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds. I mean, in a weird way, we as a society don't want to know that. Like, I don't want to know the numbers, right? So going to a place of feeling hot, feeling sexy, feeling smoking hot, feeling confident, those kind of things. Okay, yeah, I want that. There's a different kind of feeling about it. So I think focusing on the clarity, and what I mean by clarity is like that clarity might only be an inch out. I just want to feel better. I just want to feel healthier. I just want to feel not so tired all the time. You know, that's their clarity. That's all they got. Now, I think over time that will extend and grow and expand, but it's your job as a trainer is to figure out how far that clarity goes and then take them to that point and then expand them. That's where you get a client for life. For years.
Heather, that's amazing, because one of the questions that you're absolutely right that every trainer always asks is, one of the first questions, what are your goals? But what happens if the person doesn't know what their goals are? It's like what you said. We have to guide them.
It's
right?
a horrible question, right? It's what are your goals right now, Mark? What are your goals right now? I need to know. I'm like, I don't know. I want to like later have a cup of coffee and work. I mean, I'm goal oriented, but it's not like that, So I agree with you. I think it's a horrible question. It's like the car question when you ever bought a car. They go, you're in the dealership. Like you drove there, you parked, you got in there, and they go, what are you looking for? And you're like, a car? What kind of car you want? I don't know. That's why I'm here. I kind of wanted to see what's going on. You know what I mean? I think it's the worst question. It's kind of the question you're asked when you're 17. Like, so Mark, you're 17. What do you want to do the rest of your life? You want to go to college? And like, what do you want to do now? You're like, I don't know. Like, I got a hot date tomorrow. Like, that's all I got. So I think it's one of the worst questions we can ask ourselves and actually ask people. And I think it's a better question is, why are you here today? What brought you here? What brought you to me today? What's going on? And what you're doing with those questions is you're trying to get the emotion of what got them to call you or what got them to say, yeah, I'll do an intro conversation with you. What's going on for you? You see where they're at. And it could be like, well, my mom just died like a couple months ago from lung cancer. And I realized I'm really out of shape and I don't know what to do. Okay. Right? Then you can take something from there versus like, so what are your goals? She's over there going, I don't know. I just remember thinking about my mom dying a couple of weeks ago, lung cancer. I don't know what my goals are. It's a different kind of question. So you could ask more of a personal question. It's like, what brought you here today? What's going on for you? What's going on in your health and well-being that maybe I can help you with? And then that's a very open-ended question to let them talk. And then you create clarity.
I love that. And sir, what was the last thing you said there, Heather?
Then you create clarity, because the only way you as a trainer can create clarity is figuring out where they're at mentally, like where they at. Well, not only like percent body fat. They always do that. Trainers say, let me see where your percent body fat is. Okay, that's clear of like where they're at, but then you got to figure out where they're at mentally, like what's happening in their life, right? That they're there for whatever reason. It could be, I just came in from the doctor and they said that I have like a heart issues. I might die and I really am nervous. I don't know what to do. Okay, that's a very different kind of conversation. And they might be 2% body fat. I mean, you never know, right? So you have to really look at their mental mindset. And then once you understand that, it's what I call create that clarity. Not that create the clarity like 10 years from now, but like create the clarity from like a week from now, or just little baby steps. And the more clarity you create for your client, the more strength you come from, the more strength they come from, the more they will pay you for a long time.
I love that, Heather. And so I'm just taking notes here, right? So like one of the things as I kind of conceptualize some of the things we talked about is this whole component of looking at the selling as a process. And the whole process is a game. And we start with these little steps, right? We don't accomplish everything at once, but it's just like, what's my next step? What's my next step? What's my next step? And then it's our role as people that are providing the product or the service to stay in control of that process. And one of the ways that we do that is by creating clarity for our end user or for our clients by helping them create what it is that is their goal, what it is that they want, and eliminating as much of the decision making process that could hold them back as possible. And I think when we've done that, we can create, like you said, getting customers, but getting customers for life because they enjoy the experience that they have with us that they can't get anywhere else. So that's kind of me recapping there. But I wanted to ask, was there anything else specifically, Heather, that's top of mind that you think would be relevant or for the audience to hear right now before we recap off the episode and go into where people can find you?
So a couple things in the world of fitness and training. I feel like I've been pitched on so many levels with fitness and training through the years. I've different packages. I know for myself, there's I was with the trainer for, like I said, 4 or 5 years. And one of the things I liked about him, I'm one of those people that when you train me, I'm the person. I walk in there and I'll be in whatever mood I'm in, and you got to be like an army dictator to me, like go do that, and I'm like okay, because I really do want to let go of that entrepreneur mind of like letting go and not being in control. And the moment that I'm like okay, I'm just going to do what you say, it really helps me to let go. But sometimes I've been with trainers that they try to get what I call they try to educate too much, and then they try to what I call push their own philosophy on me. Like they're life coaching me in a way. And I'm like, look, I don't need a life coach. Like I already have one of those, just like I'll share with you where I'm at mentally with my body, but like you don't have to like the philosophy. It's like I'm not here for philosophy, right? So you have to have that fine line. The other thing I think that most trainers, I think they're aware of it. They've been in training for more than 10 years. They know that training sometimes becomes a psychological game and less of a training game, and that they are working with a person that is bringing an emotion, and we hold emotion in our bodies. And so when they're coming to that workout, they're releasing emotion, they're dealing with emotions, they're moving through that. And it's really your job to be what I call that lighthouse and that guide versus a preacher, right? Is being more of a guide and a safe space and a lighthouse and a guide where your job is to guide them to a result, but also understand that there's a process that they're going through with their body. And I think the good trainers know that. I think the good trainers really do know that it's more than just weightlifting or how much reps you can do or whatnot. You're dealing with people's emotions when they work out, because you release emotions and all kinds of things. So I think, honestly, as a trainer, you're doing a great service to the world. The average size, I just learned this actually, the average size of a woman in America is size 16 as of right now. And not that it's bad or good or wrong. I think there's just a dilemma to understanding the power of working out. It doesn't have to be they have to get on a show stage in a year. It's really just about letting go of their emotions every day or 3 times a week. It's more about the release and being healthy than it is about some goal of being on a show in a year or some marathon. I mean, it's too much for people. It's just too much to understand that. It wasn't until 6 or 7 years in that I was like, okay, I'm ready for a show. What does that look like? And then I did a show and I got done and I'm like, wow, that was a lot of work. I don't know if I would do that again. I'm actually now looking back and doing it again, but you have to have a particular mindset to get in that. So I just want you as a trainer to understand there's more to it. This is really dealing with a process. And I know we have a weight loss company, my boyfriend and I, and something I have to constantly kind of share with him too, is that when you're dealing with someone's body, God, you're dealing with so much social programming, personal programming, confidence issues. You're dealing with a lot of stuff going on there. So you have to be really kind of careful. And that's why the sales process is creating that tiny little clarity is so important. And they don't have to feel like they're going to have to be on a stage in 6 months.
I love it. And you know what? Just like what you said, be the lighthouse and guide. I need to put that in quotations for this episode, lighthouse and guide versus the preacher that helps him get the result. And I love that, Heather.
You ever had that? You ever had a trainer who's a preacher who starts preaching?
Oh, I have, or I've definitely seen some as well. And I know everyone has their style, but like you said, from in terms of effectiveness and getting people results, you are dealing with people emotions, and there's a lot of other things that are going on behind the physical body. So you need to be that lighthouse and guide. I just keep looking at the words, I wrote them down, versus that preacher, because if you really want to have an impact on people, you have to be able to guide them to get those results, right? Because if we just preach and like, yeah, I know, but they're not getting results because we're not dealing with the real underlying cause, that's not really us being effective as a trainer, right?
Right. Yeah, you got it. It's like what's really going on in the background. Like with your, I have a sister too. I'm trying to get her to work out, but I finally realized she's at where she's at and she's going to move where she wants to move. And I can only support that, whatever that level is for her, and just support those decisions, because I know she's got her own stuff going on, whatever that is for her body and her emotions and her past and all that stuff. We hold our emotions in our body. We do. And so sometimes there's weight there to create safety in oneself, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, just keep that in mind.
I love it. So, I mean, Heather, before we cap off the episode, I mean, there's going to be a ton of people watching this that want to know more about you and what you're working on right now. So, go ahead. Where can we find out, first of all, more about you? And, what are you working on right now? What's like top of mind for you?
So please check me out on LinkedIn because I'm there a lot. Also, heatherhavenwood.com. I'm working really focusing on my podcast called The Win. I'm on 2 networks right now. And I just love the process because I call it The Win because, like we talked about, it's a game. And when you have a winning mindset, and things will alter, as you know. But the winning mindset starts with the small pieces of clarity, right? So if someone said to me 15 years ago, well, you're going to be doing podcasting and interviewing on Marc's show and all this stuff, I'd be like, it's too much. We can't handle that. So it's that what's next, that clarity. So I talk about a lot that on the podcast. We're going to have you back, by the way, Marc, because our interview was amazing.
Awesome.
Cut out, so we're going to read through that. And just check me out, heatherhavenwood.com. I'll love to work with you. If you're interested in working with me, just go click on Work with Heather, and I'd love to work with you on your conversation, your branding, your messaging, on how you sell, your sales process, basically. Love to work with you.
Awesome. Love it, Heather. Thank you so much for being on the Hangout with Marc show today, and everyone for listening. For each and every one of you that are listening and want to get more updates every single week on who our next guest is, as well as the next week's topic, go ahead to www.marcgaudett.com, fill in your name and email address, and we'll get that information over to you. Thank you for tuning in and for listening, and thank you very much, Heather, for this wealth of information. You provided a ton of value, as always, and we will see you guys next week on next week's episode. Have a great day.